At a family dinner, my aunt smiled and said, "You'll end up working for someone like me if you're lucky." I laughed uncomfortably while everyone else nodded. 15 years later, I bought the company she once owned. When she applied for a consultant role, I called her office and said, "I'll never forget that night." It was a humid Sunday in late August, and my parents had invited the whole family over for dinner. We lived in a small ranch house in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Nothing fancy, but it was home. The kind of place where everyone kicked off their shoes and grabbed their own drinks from the fridge. My mom had cooked her usual big meal: roasted chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans with bacon. The dining room table was cramped, chairs mismatched, but it was our family tradition to gather like this before summer ended. I was 17, about to start my senior year of high school. I had big dreams, and that night, I was talking about them. Telling everyone I wanted to study business, maybe one day start my own company. I was excited. I could feel it, like something big was waiting for me if I just worked hard enough. That's when Aunt Valerie spoke up. She was sitting at the head of the table, glass of Chardonnay in her hand, acting like she was the queen of the family. Valerie was the successful one, the one everyone talked about when they whispered about who made it big. She owned a marketing firm in Philly, drove a fancy car, wore designer clothes, the whole deal. She always made sure to remind us of her success every chance she got. I was in the middle of explaining my plans when she leaned back, smirking, and cut me off. She said, "You'll end up working for someone like me, if you're lucky." Then she laughed, like it was a joke. Everyone else nodded along, or at least didn't say anything. My dad chuckled, and my mom tried to smooth it over with a joke about how Valerie was just teasing. But no one really stood up for me. I remember sitting there, feeling small. I forced a smile, but inside, I was burning. Her words hit hard, like she was reminding me of my place in the family, like she was saying, "Don't get ahead of yourself, kid. You'll never be on my level." That night, lying in bed, I couldn't stop replaying her words in my head. I stared at the ceiling, feeling angry and embarrassed. It wasn't just about the comment. It was about the way she said it, the way everyone just accepted it. Like I was destined to be beneath her. Something inside me snapped. I decided right then and there that I'd never let her be right. I wasn't going to work for someone like her. I was going to be the one people worked for. I didn't know how yet, but I knew I had to prove her wrong. The years that followed weren't easy. I got into Rutgers and studied business, just like I'd planned. I worked every crappy part-time job I could find, stocking shelves at a grocery store, delivering pizzas, working the front desk at a gym. I did internships for free, took every opportunity that came my way, and built connections. I didn't party much, didn't waste time. I was focused, maybe too much. I kept thinking back to that dinner. Every time I wanted to quit, I remembered her smirk, her words. It fueled me. I told myself, I'll never work for someone like her. After graduation, I moved to Philly and got an entry-level job at a competing marketing firm. I was the lowest on the totem pole, making coffee runs, cold calling clients, cleaning up after meetings. I kept my head down and worked like hell. I learned the business inside and out. I watched how the big clients were handled, how campaigns were built, how deals were made. I took notes. I stayed late, volunteered for extra projects, made myself indispensable. 5 years later, I was leading my own accounts, bringing in new business, and getting recognized. My boss said I had a killer instinct. I knew how to read people, how to get them to trust me, how to deliver results. But I wanted more. I saved every penny I could, and after a few years, I started my own small digital marketing firm. I ran it out of a cramped office space with peeling paint and bad Wi-Fi. It was rough at first. Long hours, no sleep, constant stress. I took on clients no one else wanted, helped them rebuild their brands, got them results. Word spread. Slowly, clients started coming to me. I hired a small team, then a bigger one. We built something real. 15 years after that family dinner, my firm was thriving. We were doing work I was proud of, helping small businesses grow, using modern strategies, staying ahead of trends. Then one morning, I got an email from a business broker. They were representing a marketing firm in Philly looking to sell. The name stopped me cold, Vantage Point Strategies. Valerie's company. I stared at the email for a long time, not sure if I was imagining it. I clicked through the financials. The firm was a mess. Revenue down. Clients leaving. Outdated practices. Valerie was trying to sell fast. Retirement, the broker said. She wanted out. I didn't think twice. I made an offer through a holding company I set up for acquisitions, so she wouldn't know it was me. After a few rounds of negotiation, she accepted. Just like that, I owned Vantage Point Strategies. I didn't tell anyone at first. I wanted to focus on fixing the company. We cut dead weight, updated systems, rebranded. I poured money into training the staff, overhauled the website, restructured contracts. It was a lot of work, but it felt good, like I was cleaning up the mess she had left behind. Then, a few months later, something happened that nearly made me laugh out loud. My HR manager forwarded me a resume for a consultant position we had posted. I opened it, and there it was. Valerie's name. Her resume. Her phone number. She wanted a job at her own former company. I sat there for a long time, staring at the screen, letting it sink in. The woman who told me I'd be lucky to work for someone like her was now asking me for a job. I didn't respond to the email. I picked up the phone and called her number directly. When she answered, she sounded polished, professional, like she always did. "Hello, this is Valerie." "Hi, Valerie. This is Alex. From Vantage Point Strategies." There was a pause. I could hear the hesitation in her voice. "Oh, yes, of course," she said, trying to sound cheerful. "I submitted my resume. I'd be happy to discuss opportunities with you." I leaned back in my chair and let the silence stretch for a beat too long. "Do you remember a family dinner? About 15 years ago?" I asked. Another pause. Longer this time. I could almost feel her trying to place my voice, trying to figure out who I was. "You told a young man he'd be lucky to work for someone like you." Dead silence. "That young man was me," I said. "I'm the owner of Vantage Point Strategies now." Nothing from her end. Just silence. I let it hang for a moment before I spoke again. "Thanks for your application, but we won't be moving forward." And I hung up. I sat there in the quiet of my office, staring at the phone. I didn't feel triumphant or smug. I felt finished. Like something that had been chasing me for years had finally stopped. It wasn't just about the company or the job. It was about standing up and showing her, and everyone else, that I wasn't the kid they dismissed at the dinner table. And that I never would be again. The day after that phone call, I thought it was over. I really did. I thought she'd disappear, maybe lick her wounds quietly, maybe badmouth me behind closed doors to the family, but that would be it. I underestimated her. That week, I started hearing things, subtle at first. A client I had worked with for years called and canceled their contract, saying they'd heard some troubling things. Another client emailed, asking if we had been involved in any legal issues they should know about. I traced it back, every time, to Valerie. She wasn't just badmouthing me in the family. She was reaching out to old clients, old contacts, anyone who'd listen. She told them I had used underhanded methods to take over her company, that I'd exploited a family connection, that I was arrogant, reckless, not to be trusted. And it didn't stop there. She went on LinkedIn and started posting these vague, self-righteous updates. Things like, "It's a shame when integrity is sold for profit," or, "Success built on deception is just failure in disguise." She never named me directly, but people knew. And the whispers got louder. Some of my newer employees started asking questions. A couple of them looked nervous in meetings, like they were wondering if they'd backed the wrong horse. Even some family members started reaching out. "Hey, what's going on with Valerie? Is there something we should know?" It felt like my entire foundation was cracking beneath me. Then came Thanksgiving. We always did Thanksgiving at my parents' house. That year, it was a mess. Tension so thick you could slice it with a butter knife. I walked in with a bottle of wine, tried to act normal, but I could feel it, the looks, the whispers. Valerie was already there, holding court in the living room like nothing had ever happened. She smiled at me, that same smug little grin she had at that dinner all those years ago, like none of it mattered. Like she wasn't the one poisoning my business behind the scenes. Dinner was unbearable. Halfway through the meal, she started telling some story about her decades of experience in the industry, and how some people take shortcuts instead of earning their place. I didn't say a word. But after dinner, I found my cousin Nate in the kitchen, leaning against the counter. "Hey man," he said, keeping his voice low. "Look, Valerie's been talking a lot of crap about you. Some of the family thinks you did something shady with the company. I don't believe it, but it's getting around." That was the moment I realized it wasn't just a feud anymore. She was actively trying to ruin me, not just in business, but with the family too. And I wasn't going to let her win. The next day, I called an emergency staff meeting. I laid it all out, no sugarcoating, no hiding. I told them who Valerie was, how she used to own the company, how she had run it into the ground, and how I had stepped in to turn it around. I showed them the numbers. The contracts we had saved. The clients we had brought in. The raises I had fought for, the health benefits I had expanded. I reminded them that they had been part of that success, not her. Then I made a promise. "If anyone here wants to walk, I won't hold it against you. But if you stay, we're going to rebuild this company together, without the ghosts of the past dragging us down." Nobody left. That afternoon, I called a lawyer. If she wanted a war, I was ready. I filed a cease and desist letter for defamation. The lawyer drafted a document laying out all the false claims Valerie had been making, along with the evidence we had. I didn't want to sue a family member, but she left me no choice. When she got the letter, she didn't back down. She sent an email to my lawyer, CCING half the family, saying, "It's a shame when family loyalty is replaced by greed. If Alex wants to drag me into court, he should be prepared for what I have to say." The audacity. But I didn't flinch. I knew what I had built. I knew she was bluffing, hoping I'd fold. Then it got personal. One night, I was working late at the office when I got a text from an unknown number. It was a screenshot. An old, stupid text I had sent a friend in college, making a dumb joke about a client. Underneath it, the message said, "I wonder how your clients would feel about this." I stared at it, heart racing. Valerie. It had to be. She was digging, looking for dirt to ruin me. I realized this wasn't just about business for her. This was about power, control, about reminding me who she thought I was. But I wasn't that kid at the dinner table anymore. The text shook me, but I didn't respond. I sat in my office, staring at my phone, breathing heavy, my heart racing. Then another text came in, same number. "You've built this company on lies. Don't make me show people who you really are." I gripped the phone so tight my knuckles turned white. I had no proof it was her. No name, no signature. But I knew. The timing, the language, the venom behind it, it was Valerie. I sat there for a long time, staring out the window at the city lights. I thought about everything I'd worked for. Every sleepless night. Every risk. Every sacrifice. And I thought about how she was still trying to tear it all down. Something inside me snapped. I wasn't going to just play defense anymore. I was going to end this. The next day, I hired a private investigator. I wanted to know everything. Who she was talking to, what she was planning, what dirt she thought she had on me. It wasn't cheap, but I didn't care. A week later, the report came back. Valerie had been busy. She had been reaching out to former clients, trying to convince them to file complaints against me. She had contacted old employees, offering them money in exchange for statements claiming I had been unethical, even abusive. She had even tried to convince a journalist at a local business paper to write a hit piece about me. But here's where it got interesting. She wasn't as clean as she pretended to be. The investigator found a trail. Old emails. Records. Misreported earnings from the last few years she owned the company. Shady accounting. Backroom deals with vendors that never got reported to the IRS. It wasn't just sloppy business, it was fraud. And she had done it for years. I sat there, holding the report in my hands, my pulse pounding. If this came out, it wouldn't just ruin her reputation. It could lead to criminal charges. I didn't make a move right away. Instead, I called a family meeting. My parents, cousins, aunts, uncles, everyone. I told them I had something important to say and that I wanted everyone there. Valerie showed up, of course. She walked in like she owned the room, head held high, smile tight. I could see it in her eyes, she thought she still had the upper hand. When everyone had gathered, I stood up and laid it all out. I told them about the texts, the rumors, the smear campaign. Then I showed them the report. Page after page, I flipped through it. The missing money. The fraud. The deals she made behind closed doors. I didn't embellish, didn't sugarcoat. I just laid the facts bare. The room was dead silent. Valerie's face drained of color. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. My mom looked horrified. My dad shook his head, eyes on the floor. My Uncle Rick muttered, "Jesus Christ, Valerie," under his breath. For the first time in my life, I saw her small. She tried to protest, but the words didn't land. Nobody was on her side anymore. After that meeting, everything changed. Family members who used to take her side stopped calling. My cousins reached out, some apologizing for ever doubting me. But the biggest shift was at the company. The clients she had been poisoning against me? They started coming back, one by one. They realized the rumors were just that, rumors. My team rallied. They were more loyal than ever. We launched a new campaign, landed 3 new clients in a month, and morale shot through the roof. But I wasn't done. Valerie had crossed the line. And I wasn't about to let her walk away unscathed. I knew I had her. The evidence in the report was solid: fraud, tax evasion, misrepresentation of company assets. It wasn't a gray area. It was black and white. But I wasn't going to the authorities. Not yet. I had something else in mind. I set up a meeting with her. Just her and me, face to face. In my office. When she walked in, she looked worn down. Her hair was pulled tight, but her face looked tired, drawn. She was holding on to that same fake confidence, but I could see it cracking. I didn't offer her a seat. I just handed her the folder. She flipped through it, page after page, and I watched the color drain from her face. "You can't prove this," she said, voice barely above a whisper. I leaned forward, calm, steady. "Valerie, I don't need to prove it in court. I can just leak it. To the IRS. To the state attorney's office. To the business papers." She looked up, eyes wide. "Panic. I'll lose everything," she said. I nodded slowly. "Yeah. You will." She sat there, stunned. I let the silence stretch until she looked away, tears welling up. I thought about letting her rot in that fear, dragging her through the mud, making her feel as small as she once made me feel. But then I realized something. I didn't need to destroy her. Not completely. Not directly. I wanted her to live with it. To know every day that she lost because of her own arrogance, her own choices. So I gave her a choice. "You're going to make a public statement," I told her. "You're going to write a post, everywhere you can, LinkedIn, Facebook, even the Business Journal, explaining that you mismanaged the company, that I saved it, that I've been nothing but fair. You'll admit that you tried to sabotage me out of resentment. You'll clear my name. Completely. And if I don't? She whispered. I tapped the folder. Then I'll burn you down. Every contact, every client, every shred of your reputation. I'll send this to the IRS myself. And I'll make sure the family sees every page. She sat there for a long time, staring at the floor. Finally, she nodded. Barely. And she did it. A week later, the post went live. Everywhere. She admitted to everything, said she had let jealousy cloud her judgment, that she had tried to undermine me, that I had bought the company fair and square, that I had rebuilt it. People saw it. Clients, family, colleagues, it spread fast. Her name was ruined. Not by me, but by her own words. But here's the part one didn't expect. The IRS saw the post too. A few months later, she got audited. Hard. Turns out, she owed back taxes. A lot of them. Fines, penalties, the whole package. Her fancy house in the suburbs? Sold to cover her debts. Her retirement account? Wiped out. She lost everything. Her reputation was gone, her savings gone, her connections gone. And I didn't have to lift a finger. But I wasn't spotless in all this. The whole process took something out of me. I lost time with my family. My marriage cracked under the stress. I was too focused on the business, too obsessed with revenge. My wife left me 6 months later. I sat in my big office one night, alone, looking around at the empire I had built. The empty chairs. The quiet hum of the HVAC. I realized I had won the war, but I'd lost something too. Valerie's words had driven me for years. I had built my entire career on proving her wrong. And now that she was gone, ruined, I didn't know who I was anymore. I wasn't the kid at the dinner table. But I wasn't whole either. Valerie left New Jersey. Moved to Florida, I heard. Living in a small condo, barely scraping by. I stayed in Philly, kept running the company. It kept growing, but I didn't feel the same fire anymore. Then, last Christmas, I got a card in the mail. No return address, just a plain envelope. Inside it said, "You were right. You won. I hope it was worth it." No signature. But I knew it was her. I sat there staring at it for a long time. And for the first time, I didn't feel angry. I just felt tired. Because yeah, I had won. But I wasn't sure if it was worth it. That's the thing about revenge. You get what you want. But you might lose more than you realize. That's the story. My revenge. My victory. My loss. And I'll live with it. Every day.